Ajarn, when you were referring to the warrior a little before lunch and then after lunch, would you say a little more about what you were referring to?
If there is no knowledge or understanding about the enemy, can there be the warrior? See, that's why we have to know what is the real enemy right now. Do you have enemy? What do you do to the enemy? Follow them? Be friendly to them? Associate more or what? See? If we don't know, like Lopa is our dear friend or dear enemy. Dear friend or dear enemy? Actually, it looks like friend, but in reality, it's dear enemy. Because there's no idea to get rid of it at all. Just follow it. So only Panya can see that it's quite difficult to see Lopa as that which should be eradicated or understand about it's not good. It's in here all the time, so closer than anything else, because as soon as one opens one's eye, it's there. So when there is no Panya, one cannot be warrior. How to conquer or understand it as enemy, their enemy. That's why even hearing about this, there is moment with Lopa almost all the time. Attached to what? What is seen. No idea that now there is attachment to what is seen, but it's there. So it's hidden, unknown, until Panya can see. No self, so what is there? Akusala or kusala. Because akusala cannot understand anything at all, even it's now, see. That's why just listen and consider what we heard from the teachings to see whether how true it is from moment to moment. And that is the development of understanding. Whenever there is the understanding of unreality right now, it's not I, but it's right understanding, so that one day when it grows, it can understand better and better what is there now. Otherwise, if one tries so hard to understand, it's impossible, because ignorance is so very, very much accumulated. So just learn to be natural. Because if there is the idea of I would like to have more panya, see, I would like to have more panya, and then what? No listening, no considering. No matter how much you would like to have panya, there's no condition for panya to arise. And one can see each word as reality like chanda. See, is there chanda now? Even while one is sleepy, there is attachment to lying down for a while. See, followed by chanda. No matter it's lopa or dosa, there is chanda, to be such and such. So much to learn about whatever appears, not just by words, but by understanding the nature which is itself, as it is. Little by little, very natural. That's why it's wrong to go to the meditation center and do something just to understand whatever appears. That is impossible, because it creates more and more self or attachment.
I also thought of the example you had yesterday, even when one is sleepy and there is tina and mida, and even at those moments there is chanda and virya. So whether we call virya patience or effort, but it's there even at those moments. So different from our usual ideas of interest or effort or patience.
Is sleepiness moha or lopa or what?
Different moments, because there can be moments of dosa with tina and mida at those moments when just a little bit of unpleasant feeling, and at those moments there's virya and chanda. Other moments just not knowing anything with moha, and then no chanda, no interest or no virya, so different moments.
Because while one is sleepy, there is hearing, see? And after hearing, what's there? Chanda and lopa, and sometimes dosa. It depends.
Whenever it is those moments with loba and dosa, however slight, however, whether sasankaraka or asankaraka, doesn't matter, but virya and chanda must be there.
Normally, after seeing appear, then normally we take it as people and thing, and it doesn't mean that it's always there is a wrong view behind, right?
Can there be Diddhasava?
Again,
Can there be Diddhasava?
this is
Have you heard about the 4 asavas, like the intoxicants or the very subtle defilements that arise immediately after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching?
yeah.
And one of them is ditthasava, so it's a very slight ditthi, completely unknown. Have you heard about that?
Now I understand what the word meaning.
Okay. So kamasava, the very slight attachment to what is seen or heard, completely unknown. And bhavasava, slight attachment just to being, just to living or existing. And ditthasava, the slight unknown wrong view that can arise even now after seeing or hearing. And the last one, avijjasava, ignorance, completely unknown, that arises straight after seeing or hearing. So it might seem that it's such slight, that there's no wrong view, but it's unknown, it's unseen, arises so quickly, even long before there's any idea of someone or something. Even in the sense door process, it can arise.
It seems like there is no the idea of self, but you don't know. But when you are asked, it's a you at that moment, it's there. So that is ditthasava. Always I. But we cannot tell whether it is ditthasava or bhavasava or avijjasava.
And I think that, Eve, this is the point about when ditthi arises. So after seeing, which is a vipaka citta, and 2 more vipaka cittas, and even in the sense door process, ditthi, the unknown, unseen ditthi, can arrive with visible object or sound, with the sense object experience completely unknown, even before its mind door process. And then bhavanga cittas, and then mind door process, and again it can arise long before there's any idea of someone or something, it can be there completely unknown. So we can't say there's no ditthi now or at that time because it's so subtle. So as understanding develops and grows, it goes deeper and deeper, understanding more and more subtle kinds of ditthi or mana or other akusala, until it's the anagami who can understand even the most subtle kinds of attachment. For the Sotapanna, even the subtle ditthi has been eradicated.
So, if it's pertinent, it may tie in with what Kuntu was speaking about earlier, about about DT and wrong view, and then I googled the kilesas, and that's when I found that strange thing about these Mara demon kilesas can become friends and converted from bad to good and taking all that nonsense. And I did want to have some discussion, if possible, about the defilements, pervasive, always present. If it isn't one thing, it's another coming up at different moments. So what I have thus far are the main lopa, the clinging, dosa, dislike, aversion, moha, ignorance, mana, conceit. But is it possible to have a bit discussion around the kilesas, please, on this topic?
I think Ajarn will say, what about now? What kilesa are there now? Because we can go through the book and list all the different kinds of kilesas and count all the different kinds of akusala chittas, but what about now? Is there lobha now? Is there dosa now? Is there mana now? Ditthi can be now.
Yes.
Because we said it's so subtle, but does it appear now?
Well, what you just stated about how wrong view, ditthi, creeps, is there even before the idea of self.
But it's unknown. So if it's unknown, it means if it doesn't appear, if it's not apparent, then it can't be known. So the asavas are the very subtle kinds of attachment, wrong view and ignorance that completely unknown, can't be known now at all. But when it's more obvious, when it's the idea that not just the conventional idea that the sound is the sound of thunder, but when there's the idea that thunder really exists, or that not just I'm looking at Eve or Sarah, but Eve or Sarah really is a being, then it's ditthi. But it can only be known when it arises now.
And the characteristic of ditthi is a tendency to warp or distort the reality, what is seen.
Yes, it's understood wrongly. For example, it's understood that it's not visible objects seen, but it's really some flowers that are seen in reality. Or there's the idea that it really is I who is speaking, or I who is hearing, not hearing which hears. This is the characteristic of wrong view. Taking reality for something or someone at this moment.
It's a distorted perception of reality.
If there's the idea that I need to have a good attitude first to understand reality, and by following this or that practice, I can get a good attitude and then I will be able to understand better. That's wrong view at that moment, because it's not understanding about reality at this moment, which is conditioned, not in anyone's control.
Jonathan, I remember some discussions with you at some point about how am I going to put this? Not there being that sometimes there is attachment to objects without ditthi, and yet I'm understanding that with the asavas, there is nearly always attachment. There is nearly always ditthi, subtle form of ditthi arising with sense perceptions. Yes, with sense perceptions, various things. Can you explain further what you meant, please?
Well, usually when we talk about there is, we are talking about kilesas that appear, that are kilesas that can be noticed.
Okay.
Not, whereas the asava level is unnoticeable.
Yes.
So the comment that you mentioned originally was there can be attachment without ditthi. Is that right? Did you? Yes. Well, mostly there is attachment without ditthi, isn't there? Like liking what one had for lunch is eating at the moment, or liking what one is seeing at the moment is attachment.
Yes. However, if we're looking at a bigger picture, the asavas, in all likelihood, arose as well, which means there is a form of ditthi, although unknown to us, unknown unless there is a very high degree of panya. Is that right?
That's correct.
But yes, the grosser form of lopa, of ditthi, I can see what you mean. We can notice the lopa, but are not taking it for self or something that exists, and we don't know the ditthi that arises as an asava. Okay. Thank you.
If it's unknown, it means it doesn't appear, so we can't say there's no ditthi, but it can't be known because it isn't apparent. And if there's the idea now, like the writer of this comment, if there is the idea that the akusala, like the ditthi, can be turned into something good, is that right or wrong understanding?
It's wrong
So
understanding.
that's an example of ditthi at that moment, when if one thinks that what is bad or unwholesome can be turned into something good, or if there is the idea that there is lobha all the time, or that sati can arise all the time, even for the Buddha or anyone. Is that right or wrong understanding?
It's wrong understanding.
It's wrong understanding because it's the idea of something as permanent, not understanding anything about Dhamma which arises and falls away.
Yes.
So it can be known if it arises now.
And the other, if it's not Dhamma, then it's concepts, and seeing or greater awareness of how huge the ignorance, little by little, and how much time in concepts. And it's not that concepts are bad per se. A Buddha, an Arhat, has concepts, but the thinking of the Arahat is different from Puthajjana, worldling.
The concepts are no longer taken for being reality.
Someone actually asked at lunchtime whether the Buddha would have this, the Arahat would have the same kind of conversation. So the Arahat still uses concepts, knows who is who, but they cannot live in the lay life as we do, they cannot participate in the same frivolous conversations. And so even though they're still thinking of concepts, it's not like now thinking about the thunderstorm and the effect on the trees and the leaves and just mindless thinking with ignorance and attachment. So it's not like it is now.
We would like to hear more about Dhatu. Please.
Another word of Dhamma, or absolute reality.
Yes. So the 18 Dhatu.
Whatever is real, it has its own characteristic as Dhatu, one kind of Dhatu. Like the Pasatha Rupa, the eye base is Dhatu as well. Whatever is real, that's why we can use the word Rupa Dhatu and Arupa Dhatu.
So the use of the word Dhatu emphasize on the non-self aspect
uncontrollable.
Of it. Uncontrollable.
It cannot be changed.
Okay.
But you see that we study a lot, but do we know anything about now? In reality, keep on talking about this and that, but when one is asked, what is now? Can there be the answer even from one's own understanding be different, but it's true? For example, what is now? When we talk about kilesa, we try to find at what moment it's kilesa, but now when one is asked, what is now? What kind of kilesa is there?
Maybe doubt
Or ignorance.
or ignorance. Yeah.
This is the basic for all akusala. That's why. And then how can there be a little more understanding of what appears now? Because we heard a lot from books about this and that, but it cannot understand this moment yet as not self. So what should be from the very beginning to understand the truth of reality right now? Because there must be reality only. But when there's no understanding, it appears like many things as concept. But actually, what is kilesa? What is now? Can we say that about kilesa, that there is kilesa right now? See, for sure. What kind? That is not enough just to know that there is kilesa is not enough, because it's still, I know, I have kilesa now, but what kilesa? So many, we can say that, but please tell just one at a time. For example, ignorance is there. It cannot know what as it is now. It cannot understand the difference between that which appears and that which experience. See, even right now, on and on, from morning up to now, there are moments of seeing, for example, but no understanding what is really that which sees and that which is seen. What is the absolute truth of that which is seen now? And we keep remind oneself, if there is enough condition to understand that this is not yet the reality that we have learned, that it can appear, because it appears like something. So when there is nothing in it at this moment, is it possible? to understand what is seen as no one there at all, because one is used to take what is seen for something all the time. This is the beginning from what we have learned from life to life to understand this moment. And we can see that before it can appear as it has to be the object and the understanding of it better. Not just understanding what, now this moment, to understand the difference between sati at level of intellectual understanding and the direct one. There must be difference between the two. When it does not appear, as long as no condition for its arising yet, we cannot see how natural and how awareness is and what is that letting go because of understanding. So we talk a lot so that one day it will condition such understanding, but it has to begin now. From reminder again and again about what is there which appears. Closer to reality which appears or not yet. No one can tell, only oneself. As soon as there is sound, there is the idea of something, see. Rain, it's raining, see. But the sound is gone completely, no self, no one at all. Just learn to understand this moment by thinking, because no one can stop thinking, but thinking rightly or wrongly. But when it's right thinking, it think about that which is heard as it's gone. And it arises again, but not the one which has gone. That which has gone cannot arise again to be known or to appear or whatever, because it completely, forever, never again. That's why from hearing it begins to be the inclination to see the danger of what is the use of just hearing again and then hearing again now and seeing again and seeing again without understanding. So the best thing in life is to hear the teachings and consider the truth and begin to understand the moment now as it is. First, not just the level of whether it is asava like kamasava or titasava or avijjasava, just to know the difference of the two different characteristics, that which appears and that which experience. Because there are now these two kinds. Otherwise there is a self trying to think about kilesa, asava and so on. From moment to moment, it takes quite a long time, because it has to be done without self, not I. But by conditions from hearing, and everything goes naturally as usual. But there's a little more understanding of this moment.
And when we read about dhatus or elements, like Ajarn says, it's like what is Dhamma, that which has a characteristic. And why 18? Because this is one way of classifying dhammas to show that whatever is real in life, whatever life is dhatu or element. So we learn that seeing is a dhatu, eye sense is a dhatu, visible object is a dhatu, 3, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, the same, 15 elements. So these are the realities that make up life now, the moments of experiencing the sense object and the sense basis. And then we learn another dhatu, mano dhatu, includes just 3 more citas that only experience an object through the sense doors, the adverting consciousness, the panchadwara vajjana citta, and the 2 sampatichana cittas. So there are 3 more cittas now, completely unknown, which only experience an object through the sense doors. And Hung, why is Santirana Chitta not included as Manodhatu?
Your question is why Santirana is not
Manodhatu.
include
Manodhatu. So we have 15 dhatus: seeing, visible object, seeing, eye sense, visible object, etc. And then Manodhatu includes 3 more chittas which can only experience an object through the sense door. That is Panchadwara Vajjana Chitta and the 2 Sampatichana Chittas, not Santirana. So why not Santirana? We had the answer the other day.
ngũ môn hướng tâm với lại 2 tiếp nhận tâm.
I think Hung can answer.
Không nhớ.
I think it's also through the mind door.
Yes,
process,
because
yes.
it has different functions. It can also experience objects through the mind door when it has a different function. So just these 3 chittas, Manodhatu. And then Manovinyana Dhatu includes all chittas not yet mentioned. So apart from seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and these 3 chittas, all the other chittas are Manovinyana Dhatu. So it's just to show that any kind of chitta, any kind of experiencing, it's just a dhatu, it's just Dhamma, just an element now that has a characteristic, nothing else. And then the last dhatu, Manovinyana Dhatu, includes Chaitasikas, Sattvarupas, and Nibbana, just like Dhammayatana. So these other dhammas that haven't been mentioned so far are Dhamma Dhatu. So it shows that whatever is real, whatever is experienced, whatever experiences, is just a dhatu, nothing else. And this is the all. So if someone says there is something else, there is a living flower or there is any other reality, it means not they don't understand what is dhatu. So in this way, just 18 dhatus. And they can be classified in other ways too. We can just say nama dhatus and rupa dhatus, just 2 kinds. But when we're talking about 18, these are the different ways that they are classified to show that's all there is, nothing else is dhatu. And so even Nibbana is dhatu.
So I am not yet clear about, like why they are classified like that. Like why they are classified in this way. Like what is in common between the ear sense and ear consciousness and sound, the object, and so we can read in the book and know how they are classified, but I still don't get why they are classified like that.
Like now, moment of hearing, there is hearing consciousness of that sound which is impinged on the ear sense. So the sound is impinged on the ear sense is a condition for hearing. So it's to show that at that moment, each reality, the sound now, the ear sense and the hearing are dhatus.
So the 5, so 5 times 3.
15.
So they are 15. So that it should show the experiences through the 5 sense doors.
At this moment. And then it indicates that actually there are 3 more chittas unknown now, which also experience sense objects only. So it mentions
Okay.
them by way of another dhatu. Because apart from
Okay.
seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, 3 more chittas can only
So
experience. Manodhatu.
Manodhatu, okay.
And then it's like, in short, all the other chittas are also dhatu. So they are included as manovinyana dhatu.
Okay.
But
so
there are not just chittas, there are also cetasikas which arise, and there are also other rupas apart from these gross rupas we've mentioned. There are all the subtle rupas. So these are Dhamma dhatu, because they are also realities that experience or are experienced.
Okay, so you have Mano Dhatu, Mano Vijnana Dhatu, and Dhamma Dhatu.
Dhamma dhatu, yes.
So the Mano Dhatu is adverting a sense, adverting consciousness, and the true Sampatichana Chitta.
Yes, because they are the only other chittas which only experience an object through a sense door.
Okay.
Sampatichana can't have any other, doesn't have any other function, but Santirana does.
Santirana, in which case
And yes,
Santirana can experience object through the mind door.
through the mind door. For example, when it has the function of Tadaramana, can be
Okay.
through eye door or mind door.
Okay, okay. Okay, so that's
You're
clearer.
probably looking for a parallel of the last threefold classification with the earlier ones. There isn't one.
like when they are classified, one in 5, in 15, and the other there are 3, and then the rest. I just wonder what is the common thing between them to be classified in the same.
And when we look at Dhammayatana, the realities are included are the same as when we were talking about Dhammayatana, but it's a different aspect that's being stressed, because when we're talking about the ayatanas, we're talking about the meeting and the association of those dhammas. But when we're talking about the dhatus, it's stressing that they are just dhammas which have a characteristic, but it's still pointing out that there are just those realities, no concepts included. So that's why whether we're talking about dhatus or ayatanas, it cannot be the same as Dhammaramana, like it mentions in some books.
So the Mano Vijnana Dhatu are the remaining chittas. Okay, and then Cettasika, Sattvarupa, and Nibbana is the Dhamma Dhatu.
So, how many dhatu you understand now? Or you
18.
know now?
Except Nibbana,
No.
but not all appears.
I asked how many, so please.
So
Now.
seeing,
Pardon?
seeing,
The seeing dhatu?
yes, so 15 of them.
I don't ask about number. I ask about what.
It's known, what appears now.
Okay, so
What
seeing
dhatu you
dhatu,
know
visible
now,
object.
or understand. Visible object, dhatu. What do you know the Pali term?
Rupa Ramana,
Okay, rupa dhatu in short.
Rupa Dhatu.
Okay, in short. And what else?
Hearing,
Hearing. I mean, do you know
Hearing
that
dhatu.
seeing is different from rupa dhatu? So it's that one is now sees, and you know that it's a dhatu. To
Yes.
understand it as dhatu. See, not just talk about how many dhatus, but to understand the dhatu now as it is. Seeing is chakku,
Chakku Vijnana.
vinyana dhatu, and it's the chakku dhatu.
Chakku Dhatu, is it the eye sense?
See, and what else?
So the Sutta, hearing it's, I'm not sure if the
3
Pali word.
to seeing now,
Yeah.
and 3 at
3
moment
for
of hearing.
hearing.
But can it be known like the Jakutatu and
Jakutatu
Sotatatu,
doesn't appear.
but it's there.
It's
See?
there.
So we learn just to understand that whatever we are talking about realities, which is daily life, but depending on what appears and what does not appear. Like there is seeing now as Thatu or Dhamma, see, different from Rupa Thatu, which is seen. But about the Jakutatu, even it's there. Just know that it's there. And can it be directly experienced?
Only by highly developed panya.
So what Thatu is there when it's experienced?
It's Chaku Tatu.
Reality cannot be changed at all, no matter it is experienced or not experienced. Jakutatu must be Jakutatu because it's the Rupa which is the base for seeing consciousness to arise, and it's the only Rupa that the Rupa Ramana can impinge on it. Just one Thatu, Jakutatu, has to be Jakutatu. That's why all Dhatus have its own characteristic. Nobody can change from Jakutatu to be Rupa Dhatu or to be Jakku Vinyana Dhatu. Just learn to understand. And can the three mind be known, like Mano Dhatu, Mano Vinyana Dhatu, and Dhamma Dhatu?
We know it's there, but they don't appear at all.
When we talk about the 18 Dhatu, is sound the Dhamma Dhatu?
Sound, no.
But
Or
when
is
we talk in
Sattva-rupa.
general, all Dhammas are Dhamma, and by way of Dhatu, they are all Dhatu.
Okay.
So if there is the understanding of Dhamma, no doubt about whether it's Dhatu or not, but since they're so different, that's why we have to know better why they are different. It cannot be the same Dhatu, but it has to be Dhatu anyway, in order to have less attachment to the idea of self from learning and thinking over it. Otherwise, it's useless to read from the book and talk about it, just the number, but it's now. By way of Ayatana, it's now. By way of Paticcasamuppada, it's now. No matter we are talking about what, but it has to be not only the intellectual understanding. One day it will condition the direct understanding. By then, no doubt about the moment of direct awareness or direct understanding.
I find the term Dhatu on its letter not particularly taking account of the classification, but just impersonal element to describe what is appearing now, quite helpful. So regardless of the way it's classified, I think it's very useful to have that term and the classification as a reminder, because we talk about the aggregates, the dhatus, the ayatanas, and those terms each have a particular meaning or significance. Each of those terms is a reminder in a certain way of the nature of realities. But perhaps for me, dhatus is the best reminder of them all.
So depending on the accumulations that the Buddha taught people, sometime by way of dhatu, by way of ayatana, or by way of khanda. Okay. So in the suttas, the Buddha also mentioned about the 18 dhatu, but in details, or okay.
Can it be more than that?
Cannot.
Really? Can it be more than 18?
Like how many chittas are there now? It could be counted like
It depending on the
a
classification.
billion cheetahs, so it could be a billion dhatus, or they're just different numbers, but it's just one way of looking at dhatus, but it could be any number,
Okay, yes.
by way of 2, by way of 4, by way of...
Just because many people argue that in the suttas, the Buddha doesn't use the word like chittasika or something like that. So I wonder whether when the Buddha mentioned the details about the 18 dhatus, it's
So
mentioned
usually
or not.
it will just mention, for example, Dhamma dhatu, and that's why it's easy for there to be misunderstanding, because if they haven't studied the details in the Abhidhamma, they just assume, seeing and visible object, hearing and sound, so then they think it's thinking and mind object, so then they think it's the same as Dhamma Ramana or something. So without studying the Abhidhamma, it will always be misunderstood because it doesn't mention that detail.
So normally the chittas are the objects that appear in the mind door. And in this case, the remaining chittas are classified as mano vijnana dhatu, and all the other realities are classified under Dhamma dhatu. Is there any reason for this?
Reason.
Why the chitta? Why there's not only Dhamma dhatu and then all the other chitta belong to that category? Why it has to be classified into two? Dhamma vijnana dhatu and then Dhamma
But,
dhatu.
Sarah explained already that there are 5 mentioned, right, in the groups of the senses, and then the other 3 that only only experience objects through the sense door,
Yes.
and then the rest. So isn't that a reason for
That
classifying?
I'm clear about that part.
Right.
But about the chitta that are mano vijnana dhatu, all the remaining chittas, they are under mano vijnana dhatu, and then the cittasikas and the sattvarupa and nibbana under Dhamma dhatu. But in other kind of classification, we know that they all belong to, let's say, Dhamma Dhammana. So I just wonder whether there's any reason that we know, but it's not a big
So
issue.
in different kinds of classifications, like sometimes more dhatus are given, so it just depends, or like Vedana sometimes classified as 3 and sometimes as 5 and sometimes more and more and more, so it depends on the detail, like here stressing about like now at moment of seeing and the rupa experienced and the eye base that it impinges on, and then any chittas and chaitasikas, also subtle rupas which don't appear so obviously. So it depends on which classification. I don't usually think about why, like the other day Robert said, why did it just mention Sanya, Vedana and Vitakka, why didn't it mention the other chaitasikas? But they're implied in other classifications. Other chaitasikas are stressed. Or when talking about the khandhas, rupa is first because of the importance of rupas taken for a whole or a body.
If a reason is not given in the texts, then we're just speculating. Really.
It's what real is Dhamma,
Yes.
but so many numbers, so many Dhamma, and how can we know we are talking about what Dhamma? By what way? The way or whatever? Because they are different. That's why there are many explanations for the way it is as different dhatu. They are all Dhamma, see? But talking about Dhamma, they have different characteristics, different one. So we talk about dhatu of each Dhamma as it is, to show the difference of all Dhammas. For example, seeing is real by way of Dhamma. It cannot think, it cannot experience sound, so it's a reality, a dhatu, different from other Dhamma, which is different, or other dhatu, see. That's why we talk about each one as being its own, as it is. Like Chakku Pasata is not the Chakku Vinyana. The Pasata is not that which sees. So it cannot be that kind of dhatu, but it is just that which is Chakku Pasata or Chakku dhatu, see. Because when we don't use Chakku Vinyana, we mean the Chakku Pasata, a dhatu, just to show the difference of each. It depends on how much there can be the understanding of the difference.
And the point of having different classifications is so that they are considered as a different aspect. So you asked why, here it's classified, certain things are grouped together, but in another classification they're not. Well, that's the whole point of different classifications, is to approach differently and analyze differently.
Can the lopa be Chakku dhatu? See, just to know the difference. But lopa cannot be that which the object or the visible object can impinge on. Can Chakku Vinyana be Mano dhatu?
No.
Why?
No. Because Mano Dhatu is only the Mano affecting consciousness, the consciousness and the true Sampatichana.
How many Cetasikas arise with the Sampatichana and Santirana?
I'm not sure.
See?
More than 7?
Yes, but how many Cetasikas arise with Sampatichana and how many Cetasikas arise with Santirana? Because they're different. But how many Cetasikas arise with Sampatichana and Santirana?
I have to look at the text.
Pardon?
They need vitaka to
They need
arise.
They all
Vitaka.
did have vitaka. Those two have vitaka as well. Yeah. So what makes the difference? Different dhatu. See? Even vitaka is there. I mean that the Sampatichana, can it be Mano Vinyana dhatu? See? It cannot. Why? How many Cetasikas arise with Sampatichana and how many Cetasikas arise with Santirana?
More with Santirana.
Really?
At least the 7 universes.
At least, do you mean that it can be more? There can be more? Or only that?
I think can be more.
Look at the book and find out. By now you can have more understanding and remember the difference between the two different dhatu, Mano dhatu and Mano Vinyana dhatu. See? If we don't talk about the Cetasikas, we just know that they are different. But by the Cetasika which arise with them, is there different? Is vitaka which arise with Sampatichana different from the vitaka which arise with Santirana? So how many Cetasikas arise with Sampatichana and how many Cetasikas arise with Santirana? Only these two, more than just the 10. We talk about just one by one citta, which are hetuka. But the different is what? Kun Vichai ka? Can you help? So we learn little by little to understand better and better in order to be conditioned for direct awareness to understand whatever appears as what is nama and what is rupa, but not the details like cetasikas which arise with it.
เจตสิกที่เกิดกับสัมปติชนะกับสันติรณะอะไรครับ
กี่เจตสิก
ทั้งหมด10ครับท่านอาจารย์
ค่ะอะไรที่เกิดกับสัมปติชนะอะไรที่เกิดกับสันติรณะ
คือถ้าเป็นสัมปติชนะเนี่ยก็จะมี10แต่ว่าสันติรณะก็แล้วแต่ว่าจะมีถ้าประกอบด้วยโสมนัสเวทนาก็จะมีปีติด้วยครับ
พูดถึงที่เท่ากัน
ก็จะมี10ประเภท
เหมือนกันไหม
เหมือนกันครับ
ค่ะ See can you get that
because they can't I didn't understand what he said but because Sampatichana and Santirana, first of all, they are hetuka, so they cannot have any akusala factors arising with them, and they cannot have the sobhana factors. But apart from the 7, so one has to think of which of the particulars they can have, and they can't have, like we discussed this morning, they don't have chanda and virya, and they don't have piti because it's neutral feeling, so and they don't have adhimokkha, no determination. So, but they must have vitaka and vichara, so that's 9, I think. Is it right or what?
He said 10. He said 10. He said 10.
He said
เจตสิก10ประเภทเหรอครับอาจารย์มีอะไรบ้างเหรอครับใช่ไหมอ๋อครับก็จะมีผัสสะเวทนาสัญญาเจตนาเอกคตาชีวิตตินทรีย์แล้วก็มนสิการะ7ประเภทส่วนปกิณกะก็มีวิตกวิจารแล้วก็อธิโมกข์ครับ3เป็น10
Atimokha is there so
because atimokha doesn't arise with how many atimokha ไม่เกิดกับจิตค่ะอธิโมกข์ไม่เกิดกับจิตกี่ดวง
อธิโมกข์ไม่เกิดกับจิตที่เป็นมีวิจิกิจฉาเจตสิกครับแล้วก็ทวิปัญจวิญญาณ10ประเภทนอกนั้นก็มีอธิโมกข์ครับอาจารย์
We discussed that there was no
อธิโมกข์ doesn't arise with โมหะมูลจิต
วิจิกิจฉาสัมปยุต
วิจิกิจฉาวิจิกิจฉา only one Moha Mulajitta. See the Jetasikas, same number and same kind.
9, 10.
What makes the difference of the two? Just same.
so
one can perform other functions that's the and one cannot
They have different function. After seeing has fallen away, can Santirana arise at once?
no it has to be after Sampatichana.
The receiving, as soon as the seeing has fallen away, the next one receive the same object but cannot perform the function of seeing. So only citta which can see is only seeing consciousness, the two kusala vipaka and akusala vipaka. Only that which sees now, or no matter in what world, as fish or dog or cat or deva, seeing is seeing. Even the Buddha seeing, how many Jetasikas arising?
7.
With Buddha seeing?
7.
Exactly the same. This is the meaning of Thatu and the Dhamma. So the difference is that Sampatichana cannot perform the function of Santirana. and Santirana does not perform the function of Sampatichana. The question arises more. Why? Because seeing arises at the eye base, but Sampatichana arises at the heart base. And when it's just first, which receiving the armana after seeing has fallen away, but it arises at the heart base, it's not as stable as the next one, which is the second moment of arising at the heart base. That's why Santirana perform the function of Santirana, not Sampatichana. Even they arise at the heart base, but and have the same amount of Cetasika, same kind, but since the first moment is different from the second moment, just that. That's the reason why Santirana Kusala Vipaka and the Santirana Akusala Vipaka can perform the function of Patisanti. That one which arises with Somanatsa cannot, because when it is Somanatsa, it has to be the function of Mahavipaka or Kamachara Vipaka, not Santirana. Because it accomplishes with pleasant feeling, see, not only indifferent feeling.
So when it's when the kusalas, no, the Santirana that experience the very present object, so the feeling is Somanasa. In that case, is the
object is pleasant, more pleasant.
Very pleasant, yes. Yeah. Then the feeling, the Vedana, is Somanasa instead of neutral. And in that case, does the piti arise as well?
Think over it, and then there can be the answer by yourself.
I think it's yes, but
maybe not today, but later on. See, that's why it's your own understanding. What is the question?
When the Santirana experience the very pleasant object, and the feeling then is pleasant. The question is piti there at the same time, the particular Cetasika?
Does piti and arise with Somanasa feeling?
Yes, most of the time, except in the jhana.
Right. Yeah. So this is the
case,
answer. See your own answer.
10 plus. Yes. But when we're talking about the Sampatichana as Manodhatu, then 9, can be. Yes.
Not just remember the number, but to know the difference. Same object, same Cetasikas, but difference.
Sorry, when we're talking about Manodhatu, because no Santirana, so just the Sampatichana with the 10 Cetasikas.
It conditions just a little more, less attachment to take it for self. By Sankhara Khanda, not by the I or me or the self at all.
Not being want to be in the hot seat, but seem lost. Just like hearings and visible objects, sound.
That's why listen carefully and think over it to understand. For example, when we talk about Sampatichana, it arises after seeing, and after Sampatichana has fallen away, the other moment cannot be Sampatichana, because it experience rather just a little more than sampadichana, because sampadichana receive, so the next one, picharana in Thai, investigate that which is received already. It does not receive anymore, but it is there.
I explain a little more in simple terms. So we know in an idle process there is the adverting consciousness, and then the moment of seeing, which is a vipaka citta, and then we know, because we discussed it the other day, there are two more vipaka cittas, you told me, and the first one is sampatichana citta, and the following is santirana citta in Pali, and then there is a kiriya citta, and then kusala or akusala cittas, and that first vipaka citta that follows seeing consciousness is it experiences the visible object, but it doesn't see it. It just receives it. And the one that follows experiences the visible object and investigates it. We could say it's a little bit stronger, or because it is the second one, it can also have other functions, that kind of citta. And we were discussing which kind of chaitasikas accompany those different cittas. So as you said the other day, seeing is only accompanied by 7 chaitasikas. It's a weaker citta, it doesn't need any other cittas. It's an ahetuka vipaka citta, and it doesn't even need vitaka. And we discussed the other day that the other vipaka cittas need vitaka to touch the object. And whenever we say they need vitaka, it means they also need vichara. So vitaka and vichara always arise together, except at some moments of jhana. So at those moments of sampatichana and santirana, they need vitaka, vichara. So that is 9 chaitasikas. And what we also found out is that they also need adhimokkha chaitasika, which is like determination. So we can see it's quite different from our conventional idea of determination, because these are ahetuka vipaka cittas, but they still need that adhimokkha chaitasika, so 10 chaitasikas. So they need just a few more chaitasikas than seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So one point was about which chaitasikas, and another point was about why sampatichana only has one function. So it just has the function in the idle process to receive the object. That's all, nothing else. But santirana, which follows it, can have other functions. Like we discussed, that citta can also have the function of patisandhi, of birth, like when it's birth in an unhappy realm, or birth in the human realm where there are no roots, where the one is handicapped, because that santirana citta is the one that follows. So it is a little bit more powerful and can have those other functions. So that was the second point. And the third point was when we were discussing about dhatus, why after mentioning the dhatus, which are seeing, visible object, eye base, and so on, why there is a dhatu which includes just the 3 other cittas which only investigate an object in the sense door. And these are the sense door of adverting consciousness, the Panchadwara Vajjana citta, and the 2 sampatichana cittas. And the reason is because the santirana has other functions. It can experience through the mind door. So those were the main points. And Nina has another point.
Ajarn also stressed that the sampatichana is the first citta after seeing that arises at the heart base. So it's not so stable yet. And Santirana is the second one at the heart base. I remember this because Sundara was so impressed by this.
Yes, it's because like the seeing consciousness arises at the eye sense and experiences the visible object, but all the other chittas in that process arise at the heart base. So when it's the first one after seeing arising at a different base, at the heart base, it's not as stable or not as strong as the second one, which arises at the heart base and experiences the same object.
And the following, the Vurdhapana, is Ahetuka Kirya Chitta because it can also do the function as mind or adverting Manodvara Ajana. I don't know my pronunciation.
Yes, and I would put it the other way round. So it's the Manodvara Vajana Chitta that has that function of Votapana. So the Votapana, that Kirya Chitta, that Ahetuka Kirya Chitta, that function of determining, or whatever we want to call it, is actually the function of Manodvara Vajana Chitta. So that's why it's not included in Manodhatu.
So
because it cannot be said to only experience objects through the sense doors.
And it's not Vipaka.
It's not Vipaka, it's Kirya Chitta, just like the Panchadvara Vajana Chitta, the beginning is Kirya Chitta. So the Panchadvara Vajana Chitta is Manodhatu, but not the Votapana Chitta.
What dhatu is seeing consciousness? No one hears what you say.
Chakku Vijnana Dhatu.
See, we begin to understand the difference. It is not Chakku Dhatu, and it's not the Rupa Dhatu, Vana Dhatu, but it is that which experience one object only. So it cannot be other Dhatu. It has to be only Chakku Vijnana Dhatu. Is Sampatichana Vijnana Dhatu?
No, it's Mano Dhatu.
So why it is Mano Dhatu?
Because it's experience the object through the sense door only, one of the three.
Can it experience object through mind door?
No, cannot.
That's why it's Mano Dhatu, because it can experience 5 objects through 5 doorways, while Santirana can experience 6 doorways. So Santirana is Mono Vijnana Dhatu, but Sampatichana is Mono Dhatu, and Chakku Vijnana is Chakku Vijnana Dhatu only.
Did you get that, girl? Is it clear? So seeing is Chakku Vijnana Dhatu, no other reality, only seeing is Chakku Vijnana Dhatu. Sampatichana is Mano Dhatu because it only experiences 5 objects through 5 sense doorways. Mano Dhatu. But Santirana Chitta, the one that follows it, is Mano Vijnana Dhatu because it can experience an object through 6 doorways.
I have a question, yeah. I think it's so helpful if Ajahn could point out to us the relation with how it is, all this is a support for right understanding, to have a deeper understanding of realities now. All this, what we talk now.
To understand that not even one moment can be taken for self. Not even one reality can be taken for self.
But we hear many names now, and we try to remember. So how is the relation to, how can it be a support for direct understanding.
To understand that each word is not just only word, but it represents reality. Like seeing, see?
Yeah.
Seeing is not just the word, but it is that which sees now.
But for sampatijana, which is harder to understand.
That's why thus it is the object of awareness now.
No.
That's why even in the vipassana jhana, nimitta appears. Just like now. It's not the nimitta of the sampatijana or sandhirana and votapana, but it's that which sees or hears or sound or hardness.
Yes. And what about sampatijana?
What about?
Sampatijana.
Sampatijana.
Harder to know.
Does it appear now?
It doesn't appear now.
So when it appears to the panya with awareness, does it appear?
It can appear when panya is more developed.
But you see that after seeing, hearing, smelling has fallen away, what arises? It cannot be panya which understands seeing right then. And when sampatijana arises and falls away, it cannot be panya directly after sampatijana to understanding it. So what appears in the jhana which understand the object clearly is exactly like now. But it does not appear altogether like now. Just one characteristic at a time. That's why we can use the word appear well. But it begins to appear well from the moment of direct awareness, even in the beginning, develop on and on and on, until it used the word vipassana, different from just satipatthana. That's why it is direct. From intellect understanding, it conditioned moment of direct awareness, and from the development of direct awareness, it conditioned the vipassana jhana. So it's impossible without any understanding the pariyatti. There can be patipatti, and without patipatti, it's impossible to be pativeda.
Like now, does I sense appear?
I cannot know.
No, but we still learn or hear about it, read about it, because it helps to understand how it's possible for seeing to arise at this moment. Because if there's no I sense, visible object can't impinge. So in order to understand what the conditions are for seeing, we have to understand there is I sense, and visible object has to arise somewhere, and there has to be a base to support that seeing. And the same way, sampaticca and santirana, they don't appear, but when we learn that after seeing there are two more vipaka cittas before kusala or akusala, it's to help understand that it's too simple just to say that after seeing this kusala or akusala, because actually it needs three more cittas in between. So gradually we just learn more details to understand more about the conditioned nature of different dhammas, like how is the birth consciousness of an animal, what citta has this kind of function. It doesn't really matter in the beginning, but it's just to gradually help understand the conditioned nature of dhammas, how they all arise in this intricate pattern and by these particular conditions, to see that definitely there's no one who can make an effort or do anything, but there are all these different dhammas.
Very good, yeah.
But it depends how much is useful to hear. Like if someone doesn't know anything about seeing as Dhamma, visible object as Dhamma, it's useless to talk about details of processes and numbers and or how many, about the 18 kinds of dhatus, because they don't even know what dhatu is. So we learn a little more only when it's helpful to really understand more about Dhammas
that's
now.
very good, yeah.
I wanted to ask about Sanya. Yesterday you mentioned that it recalls the object which Vitaka touches, and this is by the. I think this would be by through the mind door. Since through the sense door it's like it's the object impinges on the Pasada Rupa, and Sanya has no need to recall the object which is actually impinging in the Pasada Rupa. And is this what the mind or the Rasbhavanga Chitta in the mind or needs Sanya to recall the object which will be the object of Chitta of mind or adverting consciousness, the next Chitta after Bhavanga Chalana, the last Bhavanga before Viti Chitta. Is that the function of Sanya is more important through the mind door than through the sense door? The function of recalling the object which has been previously experienced, like memories and like I can recognize you or the table and the chairs, and that's the function of Sanya, to
Sanya arises with each Chitta.
But the object of mind or of the mind or process is only one for each process as one object only, and all these Chittas remember the same object.
Sanya arises with each Chitta. If we keep on understanding this, is no matter at all. Doesn't matter. Does Sanya arise with Bhavanga?
Yes.
What's the object of it?
Previous life object. The last object of the last Chitta of the previous life. That's Javana Chitta, yeah. So that object is not known by Viti Chitta because it's it can be the object of Viti Chitta. It can only be the object of Bhavanga.
Whatever Chitta experiences, Sanya remembers or marks that object. So it depends on Chitta whether what object it experiences.
Is your question why you're asking whether Sanya in mind or process is stronger or more important or something like that?
No,
or different or?
I think his question is the recalling function of
Yes.
Sanya happens in the mind door process, not in the sense door process.
Yes.
But isn't that a conventional idea about it?
I'm talking about the object, so it can be a concept as well. Because we know the object of the mind door can be a concept.
Yes. So isn't the function of sanya exactly the same, whether it's in sense door, mind door, experiencing and marking and remembering at that moment?
But to the sense door, there is no need, there is no concept. The object of sense door is not a concept, is the rupa impinging on the sense.
That function of sanya doesn't depend on the object, the aramana, being a concept, so whatever is experienced, no matter its reality or concept, is marked and remembered. When you say recalled, it sounds like it's thought about or something, but that's just a kind of, a language, just a translation. But at that moment when sanya arises, no matter it's in the eye door or the mind door process, it's marking and remembering it at that moment for future recall. Like when dreaming, there's marking and remembering, and it's because there's been the marking and remembering at moments of seeing and hearing that there can be that marking and remembering of that concept while dreaming. So I think the recalling is just a kind of translational, conventional idea, but when sanya arises and remembers, it doesn't mean recalling like we in thinking or with needing concept.
Can we say that recalling is just like thinking? It's thinking. Through what way?
Mind door.
You asking about recalling in the conventional sense or as a function of sanya?
There are 6 ways anyway. When it's not the 5, it has to be mind.
Thinking about what has been remembered, what has been the object of sanya.
No matter you call it dreaming or recalling, recollection or whatever, it's through mind.
And without that remembrance, there would be no thinking. Without that remembrance, that memory, there could be no thinking. Thinking in the conventional sense. Is that right? Because
how many ways sanya can arise?
6.
Different ones.
Yes.
At moment of seeing, can sanya recall the past?
I don't know.
Different moment.
Yeah.
Seeing just arises to see.
That's right. That's right.
And sanya arises with seeing, marks.
Yes.
And remember.
It remembers it, but it doesn't. You asked whether it remembers the past.
At moment of seeing.
No.
But after seeing, then you can think about that which is seen and the story about that.
In the mind door.
Through the mind door, and that can bring...
Well, obviously, to recognize Anne as Anne, that has to be through the mind door. But Alberto is asking, the sanya that arise in the sense door recall the visible object, to mark and recall the visible object at that moment, which is maybe different from recognizing the table as table.
Because one's in the sense door, one's in the mind door. Yeah.
This morning, Ajarn said about there's no generation, old people, young people with the same doba, loba, doha, and so on. I remember about a sutta hopefully that I remember correctly. It said about the conversation between Buddha and Ananda. This old man came to see the Buddha, and the Buddha gave the Dhamma, and later on Buddha smiles and Ananda asks, and Buddha said that if the old man came to listen to the Dhamma 10 years ago, maybe he became a Sotapanna, or maybe if he came like 20 years ago, then he can be a Arahant. I don't know if I remember correctly that detail, but it for me it's a little bit difficult to understand that detail.
And what about before that?
Before
coming to see the Buddha, no matter 10 years later or 20 or 100
normal
years,
person.
depending on conditions.
Someone might come as a child and not gain anything at all, so just depending.
The reason I ask because there seem to be easier for young people to understand, everything than the old people.
In order to be a monk, one doesn't have to wait until one is the age for being monk.
No.
You can see, for one thing, is how difficult it is for an elderly person to come here to listen to the teachings, or if one doesn't have good hearing or eyesight, how hard it is to hear or to read or something like that.
And another consideration is, well, I don't know if this applies in that particular case, but one has to hear the Dhamma repeatedly in order to develop it, so it may need some years or decades to develop to a certain point in a given lifetime. So if you're too late in the lifetime to hear the Dhamma for the first time, then there's not enough time left in that lifetime.
Sick and going into hospital, are you going to listen for the first time?
When there's no accumulation, one wait until then and go to see someone like Buddha in order to become that. Wait more until 10 years later and then go to listen to the teachings. Can that person become enlightened?
I'm sorry, not
Just wait until then, until one getting that to that age in order to become enlightenment. Just wait, no understanding at all. See? So it does mean that Buddha didn't know the conditions of each personality.
I just want to slip in a question from Huang, the Vietnamese friend in Australia, because she's keen to hear Ajarn's comment, even though we probably could help in our own way. She says she's read many interesting topics about processes of citas and Bhavanga citas from the Pure Dhamma website. I'm curious about Bhavanga citas because they say it's not radiant mind, the pure mind, because if Bhavanga is pure mind, it would mean that an animal like a dog, does he have a radiant mind? And I think that not long ago on our discussions, Bhavanga citta is illuminated or pure mind. Please ask Ajarn to comment.
Who's Bhavanga?
Any Bhavanga citta. Bhavanga citta is Bhavanga citta.
Bhavanga of a dog?
Is Bhavanga citta.
Pure?
The citta itself is pure because it's not arising with any akusala cittas, it's just that vipaka citta.
Is it pure like kusala?
It's not kusala, but we can say it's pandara, it's pure, but it's not radiant or pabasara. It's not arising with any kusala factors. So we say it's pure pandra because it's not contaminated by akusala, but it's not shining or radiant because there are no wholesome factors.
That's why there are two words, pandara and papasara. Kusala is papasara, but each citta, no matter it is akusala, citta itself is pandara.
So I just elaborate for other people. So whatever citta arises in life, no matter in Deva realm, human realm, animal realm, ghost realm, hell realm, the citta itself is said to be pandara or pure, because even though it arises and falls away, it's not like the idea of pure in other teachings. It's impermanent, but it's pure because the citta itself is the innermost. It's not the citta which contaminates it. It's the cetasikas that arise with it that make it akusala or kusala. So the citta itself, the innermost Dhamma, is pure pandara, but it cannot be said to be radiant or illuminating or shining or these other words, because because it's just the citta. Only when it arises with wholesome sobana factors can it be said to be pabasara. So two different words. And often I think in Mahayana teachings in particular, they talk about the radiant mind or and they have an idea if there is enough understanding, this radiant mind can be found that is there all the time. But whatever arises falls away instantly. So no matter we're talking about pandara citta or pabasara citta, it's impermanent and falls away straight away. So this is what she's asking about.
Yeah, moment ago, Ajahn talking about the 6 doorways which sanya arise. But yesterday, Sarah also mentioned about the Bhavanga Citta is not considered as the doorway. Right? This 6 plus no.
So cittas arise and fall away, the Bhavanga cittas, until they are interrupted by a sense door process or mind door process, like in sleep, in deep sleep. There are Bhavanga cittas arising and falling away, not experiencing an object through any sense door or through the mind door. That's why the object is completely unknown. They carry on in that deep sleep until they are interrupted by the mind door cittas which dream, for example, or sense door cittas in a process. So the Bhavanga cittas arise in between processes of cittas, no matter whether short time, like between sense door and mind door processes, or long time, like in deep sleep.
I'm not sure if this is relevant, directly answers the question, but it's somehow connected. The Bhavanga cittas don't arise in a process. The cittas arising for the sense door experience and the mind door experience arise in a process. So there's a doorway for the process.
Normally we mention about the kusala citta, and Sarah mentioned about the story, like at the moment of the generosities, thinking about the other being, something like that, with the metta there. So they are on the concept, and when the concept is the object of the citta, it could be kusala or akusala, right? right? And it applied not just the being, it's applied also for the thing, as the kusala or akusala. That's correct. Like when people thinking about the table, at the moment just thinking about the table, it could be kusala or akusala. This
Like now, I'm just thinking about how I enjoy the design of the table with lobha, akusala citta, or there could be the wise reflection about how what is taken for a table is actually just hardness, in fact no table there. So when we're talking about pariyatti, understanding about realities, concept is the object. Concepts about different realities, like when we're talking about sampatichana, it's thinking about concepts about different realities, but it can be kusala or akusala cittas. If we're thinking with confusion and doubt, it's akusala cittas. If we're thinking with any understanding, kusala cittas.
I'm not sure if remember correctly, yesterday Ajarn mentioned about when the object is the concept, it cannot be accompanied with the panya. Panya only arises when...
I think she was talking about, maybe talking about satipatthana. When we're talking about satipatthana, it's direct understanding of a reality. But if, like when we're talking about pariyatti understanding, the object is concept. Or when talking about metta, the object is concept. Or when talking about generosity, like giving the flowers to someone, the object is the flowers or the person we're giving it to.
No.
So it's concept.
I mean with understanding or without understanding. Understanding can be there with the object as the concept, right?
So
If
there is moments of metta and generosity which are kusala but no understanding,
right.
Concept is the object.
Right.
If there are moments of metta and generosity with understanding, concept is the object. If there is considering wisely about dhatus or dharmas, and it's pariyatti understanding now, understanding is there and concept is the object. If it's direct understanding of reality, the object is reality. So considering about concepts wisely or unwisely.
In the development of samatha, for example, there is wholesome reflection about the subject matter, the earth kasina, metta, death, etc. Panya can arise.
Because yesterday maybe I have the wrong understanding what Ajarn mentioned about.
She might have said something like, oh, it's just thinking about stories or thinking about concepts, like we might say this like, while streaming, it's just thinking about different concepts, different stories, akusala cittas, or like just thinking about the colors of the tablecloth, just thinking about different ideas with akusala cittas. But that doesn't mean they cannot be thinking wisely with concepts as object.
The object of pariyatti is concept, but it is not a table. That's not the object of pariyatti. Is a table the object of pariyatti? Can a table be the object of pariyatti? A chair can be object of pariyatti?
Based on what I heard, it could be the object of the low level of the consideration, like low level of the understanding, as the concept, not the reality. We wisely reflect that the table is the concept, is the appearance of the reality, maybe that's time wisely consideration that with the understanding may appear, may arise.
And if you consider the visible object, which can be a table or a chair or anything, as a reality, and then it is the object of can be the object of pariyatti. But I don't think that if I don't think that thinking about the table as a table can be the object of pariyatti. I don't think so. Because even at pariyatti level, we are talking about reality. We are not talking about tables. We are not talking about chairs. So we are talking about visible object and seeing. So
I think what Alberto is saying is that in pariyatti we talk about concept of a reality as being the object of understanding, but not concept of a table. Concept of visible object, concept of sound, it can be the object of pariyatti. That's it.
Okay. But so what we just saying that the concept can be nhưng cái level kia là level khác rồi. Này nói
say like now, what is seen is visible object, not a tables, because in reality there is no table. So they can be thinking about a table in this way, how it actually is just an idea. So at that moment, the object of this thinking are concepts about visible object, concepts about the non-existence of tables. So it's can be wise reflection now with understanding. But it's concepts of realities that are being considered.
Could you please elaborate a little bit more? Just make me confused again.
So if I ask Chung what is touched now, I'm sure he will tell me. Okay, I ask him what is touched now, Chung.
Hardness.
Hardness. So when he says hardness, is the object of the thinking reality or concept?
Reality.
Is it the reality that is directly experienced at that moment?
No.
Because he's heard, he knows this is the right answer. So it's actually concept about reality. We know it's hardness, but at the moment of pausing and thinking, then hardness is touched. So it's actually a concept of reality. Or if I say to you, what's seen now? And straight away you'll say, visible object. But if it's not direct understanding, direct awareness of visible object, actually it's a concept of visible object. So this is pariyatti understanding. Or if we're talking about dhatus and the 18 dhatus, we can be talking about them with some understanding about how they're just different dhammas now, which are anatta, and there can be some understanding at those moments at the level of pariyatti, but the objects are concepts, or they can be thinking about them unwisely with doubt or confusion, and the object's still concepts.
Okay.
Concepts about realities.
What dhatu is hardness?
Rupa.
Thatu. Anh nói Rupa rồi nhưng mà Rupa. I don't know the word in Thatu, just Rupa.
Have you heard the word Patavi Thatu? Patavi Thatu.
Địa đại.
Patavi means hardness.
Is the word Thatu or the characteristic which is hard Thatu?
We can say it at hardness là tính chất của đất. Patavi, earth.
It's not the word, but it's the reality which is hard. It's a Thatu. In Pali it is Patavi Thatu. But if we don't use the word Patavi, can we say that it's a Thatu? And what else can we say about it as Thatu?
Here, visible object.
Hardness.
Hardness.
What else can we say about Patavi Dhatu, hardness, element?
Hardness là cái này chưa học ạ. Cái này địa thủy hỏa phong là 4 cái thôi gì. Hardness. It's difficult to
It's
me.
matter as long as it's a Thatu. Yeah. It depends on understanding about Thatu.
About the moment of touching.
Pardon?
About the moment of touching is
What Thatu is there?
hardness.
She didn't experience, it's you at moment of experiencing.
Actually, I don't understand what Ajarn asking. Dhatu meaning.
She's asking, forget the word dhatu because it's causing some confusion. So you mentioned hardness, which is, we can call it patavi, it doesn't matter. We can call it tangible object, like if we're talking about the 18 elements, we just talk about tangible objects. So it's that hardness which is touch now. What can you say about it? What is its characteristic? What do you know about it?
What else can you use the word to specify that characteristic which is directly experienced?
At the moment of that touching, it can be hardness.
No, I didn't talk about the 13. I talk about the understanding of Thatu. In Pali it says Patavi Thatu, but no matter it said as Patavi Thatu or not, its characteristic is hard, so it's a Thatu. What else can be used for it? The word
characteristic.
Apart from the word dhatu, what else? The very first word.
Apart from Patavi Thatu. Apart from Patavi Thatu.
It's the reality.
But apart from Patavi Thatu, what Thatu can it be?
Xúc chạm đúng chị hay là hotness.
Pardon? Just the characteristic which is hard.
Which is hard, right?
If we don't use the word Patavi Thatu, what else can we use for that characteristic?
Temperature. No. Temperature concept.
Okay, but can we say other thing?
Can we say other?
Can we use different word besides just Patavi Thatu? Can we use another word for Thatu about that?
It's the reality. Real.
Dhamma, all Dhammas,
Dhamma.
and
not self.
instead of saying heart or Patvi Dhatu, can we say another word for it? Yes, but see, can we use another word for that Dhatu? Can we use the word Potapatatu?
Not just that which is hardness touched, whatever is touched. Potaba Dhatu.
It's a kind of Potapatatu. What Dhatu are Potapatatu?
What realities fall under the Potapatatu? That is the Dhatu that is object of body consciousness.
Touchings maybe phong đại touching đâu có phong đại gì. Touching có phong đại. Mềm có là gọi là motion đúng không? Like a motion.
Besides Patvi Dhatu, what else is a kind of Potapatatu?
Motion, hot or cold. What can be experienced at touch? Tất cả đều được kinh nghiệm hả?
So that's Potaba Dhatu. So when we classify as touching and tangible objects, so whatever is touched, the heat, the cold, the motion, the hardness, like you said, softness, whatever is.
That's the way to understand reality, not just by words, but from considering what is meant by Potapa. Is it Dhatu? How many Dhatus can be Potapatatu? So it's not wrong when there is right understanding to use the word. That is true. Can sound be Potapatatu?
Sound no. Thì nó chạm vào cái ear. Thế em chưa hiểu cái tattoo.
Maybe the Pali term is difficult to remember. Yeah.
So when rupa is experienced or touched now, we don't even have to say it's hot or cold or softness. It's just tangible object, that's all. Potaba Dhatu, that's all.
Last question. What is not Dhatu?
What is not tattoo? Cái gì là không phải đối tượng xúc chạm đúng không? Okay. Yeah, concept, right. Nhạc bài cái